Hello everyone, welcome to ICT Revision Notes Chapter 2. Today we are looking at input and output devices, and our learning intention today is to look at input devices, output devices, and direct data entry devices. In each of this, we're going to look at the uses, advantages, and disadvantages of these devices. Now, so we want to look at the first one, which is input devices and their uses. So basically, input devices are hardware tools that allow you to interact with a computer by sending data or control signals to the computer system. Now, these are some of the input devices that you are supposed to learn and know as far as the ICT IGCSE syllabus is concerned. All right. Now, this is a more detailed input device. This more detail, capturing every single input and output device you need to know as far as the syllabus is concerned. Now, so we take the very first one, which is keyboards. Now, keyboards, we all use keyboards every day, and they help us to enter or input information into a computer system by either pressing on a key, a letter, a number, or some functions. Now, some advantages of the keyboard is that it is a very fast way of entering data into or typing information into the computer. And then it is a well-known method, very easy to use by everyone. And again, it is a way that if you want to facilitate any verification check, you use your keyboards in doing that. Now, some disadvantages with the keyboard is that people with some or wrist issues, or people who have some disabilities with their hands find it difficult to use the keyboard. Again, it's very slow compared to direct data entry devices. Again, when you continually use the keyboard for a longer period, typing, you have some pain in your wrist, which is referred to as repetitive strain injury. So these are some of the disadvantages of using a keyboard. Now, here are some few examples of a keyboard. This here is an example of an ergonomic keyboard, and this is a standard keyboard, and this is the keyboard that we find on our phones. All right. Now, numeric keypads are basically used for entering in numbers and mostly find on ATM or post point of sales devices or terminals. On your mobile phones, calculators, we find numeric keypads, and we use them to enter in numbers. Some advantages of the numeric keypad is that they are faster compared to the standard keyboard. Since the standard keyboard is made up of both letters, functions, and numbers, the numeric keypad is just made up of numbers, so it's easier to enter in numbers with that. On the other hand, it's very portable. So if you look at the images here, you notice that these here are just portable. The disadvantage on the other hand is that they are very small keys. So people who have issues again with their hands sometimes find it difficult to key in values when the size are very small. On the other hand, the numeric keypad is not intuitive in nature. So if you look at this keyboard, for example, it's starting from 7, 8, 9, all the way to 0 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they are not intuitive in nature, and so that is also another disadvantage of the keyboard. We go to the next one, which is a mouse. Mouse, basically we use it to open, close, minimize, group, edit, and control or point out items on our screen. So just like I'm using a mouse to point out to the advantages of mouses. Now, so again, if you look at the advantages stated here, it states that it's a faster option of selecting compared to the keyboard. Obviously, if you are selecting with the keyboard, it means you need to have some shortcut commands in order to be able to do the selection with ease. The other advantage of the mouse is that it's a quick navigation tool compared to other applications. Another advantage of the mouse is that it requires less desk space than a keyboard. Obviously, if you look at the size of a keyboard, it's bigger compared to the mouse. So the mouse just requires smaller space compared to the keyboard. Some disadvantages of the mouse is that, again, people who have some disabilities as far as their hand or wrist is concerned find it challenging to use the basic mouse everyone knows, or the standard mouse. Now they are prone to accumulate dirt because we have to move the mouse on the table. It sometimes accumulate dirt when you lift up the mouse and check under it. The last disadvantage here is that it requires a flat surface, and in some cases you need what we refer to as the mouse pad in order to use the mouse well. If the surface is too smooth, using the mouse doesn't work so well, so it requires a flat surface for optimal use. Now we go to the touchpad. The touchpad is very similar to the mouse and does basically the same use as a mouse. Some advantages of the touchpad is that it's a faster option compared to the keyboard. So again, when you are using keyboard shortcuts, the mouse or the touchpad does a better job than using the keyboard. Now they are portable and integrated into the laptop. So touchpads, as we can see here, form part of the laptop. See, as this person is using the touchpad to control select items in here. They do not need an extra space, just like they don't need an extra space like a mouse would do, right? And so come in as portable. Some disadvantages with this again is that people who have some disabilities or limited hand or wrist movement find it challenging to use, and then maybe harder to control than a mouse. Okay, so in some cases you need to know how to use the touchpad very well compared to the mouse. Then we move on to the next pointing device, which is or input device, which is the trackable. So the next input device is trackable. Now trackable behaves very much like the mouse, okay, but they have this big ball at the top that allows people to put their fingers on or their palms on and move the cursor. All right. Now, unlike the traditional mouse where you need to move the mouse in order for it to work, the tracker board remains stationary, and whilst you move the ball, the cursor move in any direction you want it to go. Now, the advantage or some advantages of the tracker board is that it doesn't require a fine control like the mouse. And then the next point is that it's easier for users with wrist or hand use issues. So again, the tracker board is mainly designed for people who have issues with their wrist or have some disabilities and are not able to move the standard mouse as everyone else could do. Again, as part of the advantages, they are very more robust, require less desk space, so they don't need very big desk space, and you don't have to move them, or you don't need enough space to move the mouse or the tracker ball like you do with the mouse. It's just stationary at one point. You move the ball and the cursor goes in the direction which you want it to go. Some disadvantages of the tracker ball is that they are costly. They are more expensive compared to the ordinary mouse, and then again, because of their nature, may require some training for you to be able to use it very well. And these are some pictures of the tracker ball. All right, now the next input device is the joystick. As the name suggests, it gives us joy. Sorry. Gamers all over the world make use of the joystick to play video games and do some simulations. Some advantages of the joystick is that they are easy for navigation compared to the keyboard, and then it gives you some realistic control when using it for certain applications. Now, on the disadvantage, this here is less precise, compared to the mouse, and these are some examples of joysticks. The next input device we want to look at is a remote control. Basically, we use it to control television, satellite systems, media, multimedia, and then in some industry, we make use of remote control to control some devices that are in a very unsafe environment where you have chemicals. So as part of the advantages, they can be operated from a distance, and then you can use them in very hazardous industrial environments. The disadvantages come as far as the remote control is concerned is that again, people who have issues with their hands are not able to grab, and press more buttons on the remote control like you may be able to do. So again, there's some challenge with users with limited hand or wrist movement. Again, when there is some interference with the remote control, there's a thick wall or a wood or anything that is not penetratable, when you put it in front of the mouse, it will not be able to operate the device that you want to use. Again, these are some examples or pictures of remote controls. The next item we want to look at is the touchscreen. Touchscreen, we all make use of touchscreen on our mobile phones for typing, for playing games, for texting, and again, on the point of sales, we make use of the touchscreen where you put in or key in numbers or your PIN for payment to be made. Some advantages of the touchscreen is that it's a faster option than a keyboard and easier to use. It is very user-friendly, so you don't need any training on that. The disadvantage with the touchscreen is that it has limited input options. So unlike the keyboard where you have functions, numbers, and the rest, the keypad or the touchscreen has some limitation compared to the ordinary keyboard. Again, on the disadvantage, potential for strain and repetitive strain injury. So once you continually use the touchscreen for a long time, you hold your hand in a certain way and you begin to feel pains in between your thumb or on your wrist because of the way you use the touchscreen. The other item is that the other disadvantage is that touchscreen can get very dirty, and or when you have some liquid or fluid poured in it affects the way it responds. So those are some disadvantages of the touchscreen. Next, we have the light pen. Now, the light pen is very similar to the stylus. They are not the same thing, okay? And they are mainly used on the cathode ray tube systems or TVs. And they are basically used for graphic design and digital art and some interactive presentations. Again, you can find it used in data entry and annotations. And finally, on cathode aided design. There are a lot more uses as far as the light pen is concerned, but we will limit ourselves to this four. Some advantages with the light pen is that it has a greater accuracy or precision when you are selecting things on the screen, and then they are very small and space saving, so they are not too big and easy to use technology. The disadvantage is that when drawing, you find it's sometimes lagging, right? So when you draw on the screen, it lags a little. There's a little delay time in the way it behaves. And then the other item is that it's only compatible with cathode ray monitors, and then it has some limited accuracy for drawing. The next one is digital cameras. Digital cameras basically used for taking pictures, videos, and basically those are the uses of digital cameras. The advantages of using digital cameras is that they produce very good or standard picture qualities. They are easier and fast to upload onto any computer system, and then you can eliminate the need for film development and printing. Unlike the olden days where you have to take the film to a center or a place where the printing needs to be done. With the digital camera, you can print out your own items as you print you can print your own item as you take photographs of them. It's like the old types of cameras where you need to take out the film and take it out for printing. The digital camera, you can just pick up the SD card and slot it into your computer and get exactly what you want. Some disadvantages to the use of the digital camera is that it requires computer literacy to use it effectively. It requires computer literacy to use effectively. So if you're using a digital camera and you want to really get your pictures and print or share with people, you should have some computer literacy to be able to do that. Now, again, because of the use of digital camera, people have lost their artistry skills due to the use of technology. And then images often need compression for memory efficiency. So pictures that are taken with the digital camera sometimes can be huge, and I mean, especially with videos, and sometimes you need to compress them in order to share. All right. Then we come to microphones or microphones. All right. Microphones basically are used for voice recognition softwares. Your phones make use of microphones. The video conferencing or voice over the internet protocol make use of microphones. So it's basically used to input sound into a computer system. Some advantages of the microphone is that they are faster way of inputting speech than typing, and then they work in real time. So some real-time sound manipulation with special software. So again, you can have your voices being manipulated with some special software. Again, you have improved safety in voice activation system. So if you are using some voice activation system, it makes sure that it recognizes your voice by doing some continuous repetition for the system to recognize your voice before it's being used. Some disadvantage with some microphones is that the sound files consume significant computer memory. Or again, so with the use of the sound file, it consumes a lot of memory space. And then voice recognition systems softwares may sometimes lack accuracy. So even though you speak and the system recognizes your voice, sometimes when you speak again, it's not able to recognize that you are the same person speaking. So there are cases where they may lack some accuracy. And these are some examples of microphones that we have available. The next item is a scanner. So scanners basically take up hard copies of, let's say, any material and scan them into a digital form. So they are used for digitalizing, and then again they are used to scan barcode at POS terminals. Some advantages of scanners is that they take images and store them for later editing, and then they are very fast and more accurate ways of typing than using the OCR. The last advantage we have here is that in terms of recovering damaged documents or photos, the scanner is a very good tool to use. So if you have very old pictures that you want to preserve, you can scan them and keep for a later use. Some disadvantages with scanners is that they have limited quality depending on the scanner that you want to use. So in some cases, you scan a document and then the quality is not the same as the original document that has been scanned. And then finally, scanning can be very slow depending on the computer you're using or the software you're using and the resolution that is required for scanning. Next, we have analog sensors. So analog sensors basically are devices that detect changes in your physical surrounding. So it detects physical properties such as temperature, humidity, pressure, and converts those changes, into an electrical signal. And some of the types of sensors that we want to look at are temperature sensors for taking temperature, mostly found in devices like washing machines, central heating system, and then greenhouses and ovens. Now, the pressure sensor, on the other hand, are used in intruder alarm system, again in washing machines and then robots. We have light systems that are used for street light lighting systems, automatic doors, and again intruder alarm systems. Sound or acoustic software or sensors are also used for intruder alarm systems. Humidity or moisture sensors again are used in the greenhouse or automatic greenhouse. And then last but not the least is the pH sensor, which is also used in the greenhouse. Now, there are some advantages and disadvantages to using analog sensors. So, because they are not human, taking readings is continuous. So they are able to take reading without break. And then when again you compare the way they take reading, it will be more accurate compared to human beings recording those reading. And finally, the system is automated to eliminate any human intervention as far as reading data is concerned. Some disadvantages of the use of the sensor is that when it is faulty, it gives you very big or large results, and then most sensors are analog and require the need to convert them from analog to digital forms. So because the computers that we use do not read analog data, there's a need to convert any reading that you take from an analog sensor into a digital form using the ADC. All right. Direct data entry devices are devices that are used also to input without human without manual transcription. So what we mean by manual transcription is that you don't need to type anything or write anything manually. And then these devices are very useful for capturing data from physical world and converting them into a form that can be processed, stored, or manipulated for later use. Now, we move on to the direct data entry devices that we are again supposed to know as far as our syllabus is concerned. So again, we have this chip and pin reader, RFID, the barcode, the optical mark reader, magnetic stripe, and then magnetic ink recognition system. So we take the first one, which is a RFID. So RFID stands for radio frequency identification device. They are used for tracking inventories in retail stores, can be used for tracking animals, can be used in stores, in airports, and they are a very secure way of capturing information in very large facilities. The advantages that comes with RFID is that they are no line of sight. In other words, you don't have to be directly in front of the device in order for it to be captured. And then they are efficient and a faster way of identifying individuals or any system that has the RFID tag on them. Again, they are automated and they can track and sort out luggages at airports. The disadvantage with the use of the RFID has to do with cost. The cost of the RFID, the initial cost of installing and everything comes out very costly or is very high. And then they are vulnerable to hacking and data theft. Since they make use of radio frequencies, they can be hacked into. And again, they may have some interference from metallic or liquid in some cases. So when there are some metallic interference with the radio waves, they may affect the way the reading is done. So again, these are some pictures of RFIDs and then being used in different ways. The next item is the next direct data entry device we have here is the OCR, that's the optical character recognition, and they are used to convert scanned documents into forms that are editable, and then again they are used to extract information from invoices or receipts for accounting purposes. Finally, some use here is that they are used for digitizing old books or manuscripts for preservation and easy access. The advantages of OCRs one, can process various fonts and sizes, and then they are automated as far as data entry is concerned, so it reduces error, and then preservation of historical documents. So as mentioned earlier, if you have some old document that you want to keep, you can use OCR to scan them so that those documents are not lost. The disadvantages with OCR is that accuracy depends on the quality of input. And then the next one is that it's difficult with handwriting recognition. If you have some items that are handwritten, the OCR finds it difficult to recognize them. And then finally, they can be time consuming if you have large documents to scan. The next direct data entry device we want to look at is a magnetic ink character recognition. Basically, they are being used in banks or financial institutions, and they are used to detect whether the account number and the transaction details on a bill or on a check are accurate and they are not dubious ones, okay, or they are not fake ones. So some advantages with magnetic ink character recognition is that they have high accuracy and resistance to tampering. So if you attempt to tamper with the MICR, I mean, it can easily pick you up. The next item we have here is that it has fast processing of large documents. So the MICR mostly can be used for bulk scanning of items because they scan at a very high speed. They are used to secure the verification of financial documents. Some disadvantages of the MICR is that it requires special ink and paper, and then the next one is that it's limited to specific documents and formats. So they are limited to the type of document they scan. They don't just scan any document. They are specific in the document they scan. The last one is that it comes with a high cost when you are implementing or trying to maintain them. All right. Then we have the barcode reader, which are mainly used for scanning products in retail stores or to make inventories in warehouses or distribution centers, and they are used for tracking assets and equipment in business or organizations. The advantages of using barcode readers are that they are fast and accurate in scanning, and then they improve inventory management and tracking, and then finally easy identification and tracking of assets. The issue with barcode readers is that they are limited in the type of data they have limited data capacity, require line of sight to work. In other words, whatever they are scanning should be directly in front of them before they are able to scan. Now, vulnerable to damage or wear. If the barcode you are working on is scratched, it will not read it, and so they are vulnerable when whatever you are working on, gets worn out or has some tears. And then again, they have some limited information that are encoded in standard barcode readers. They don't store very much information there, so that is some disadvantage with the use of barcode readers. The next item is a card reader. Card readers basically are used for reading credits, debit cards, and give you access to systems like building or restricted areas. The advantages of using card readers are that they are widely compatible with existing cards and convenient and fast access control. Okay. The disadvantage is that they are vulnerable to magnetic interferences, and then they have limited security compared to biometric systems. So with some cards that we have, so with the last one, for example, these last two, for example, make use of RFID, or what we refer to as the NFC. So when you tap just the card on the device and you enter the PIN, you are good to go. So in terms of limited security, some cards do not even need you to enter in a PIN code if it's a later amount, in which case if you are making use of the NFC. So that is some limited security compared to the use of biometric systems. Next on the line for direct data entry devices is a chip and pin reader, and the chip and pin reader very much similar so the chip and pin reader basically process data that are on debit and credit card systems, and again they are used to provide authentication for electronic funds transfer. So the advantage with chip and pin readers are that they have enhanced security with encryption. They have reduced risks of fraud and counterfeit transactions. And then finally, they are secure for authentication of financial transaction. Now, the disadvantage or disadvantages with chip and pin readers is that they require physical contact, and then they are costly for implementation, and they have limited support in some regions. The next one we have here is the optical mark recognition, which are used for scoring MCQs and surveys, and again for processing ballots in elections in some cases. The advantages of using OMR are that they are very fast for grading, and then they are accurate and reliable for vote counting. They are quick for data processing if you have large volumes of data or forms. The disadvantage with the OMR is that it has limited form, or they are limited to specific forms and marking. You can't just use it for anything, so they are limited for specific forms and marking, and not suitable for handwritten or complex forms. And then finally, they have difficulty with non-standard forms. So if the form is not a standard one, the OMR will not be able to use it. Then we have the final one here, which is the QR code scanner. The QR code scanner behaves very much like the barcode readers. So, but then here you can read them using mobile devices. So for mobile payment, so making mobile payments using digital wallets, you can make use of the QR code reader. Then again, for accessing websites, so you can scan a QR code to access a website or to access any documents that is available. Then we have some advantages and disadvantages here. The advantage is that it has high data capacity and easy to generate. They are very easy to generate, and it can hold very good data. They are very versatile and interactive marketing too. The disadvantages that comes with the QR code is that it requires compatible software. So you need software that you can use to read QR codes. So they have requires compatible software. And then the last one I'll touch on here is that limited data security for sensitive information. So you can't just put out sensitive information on the QR code for people to use. So it's in terms of the amount of data that is put out, it's limited data as far as security is concerned. We have some quiz here to try as far as this are concerned. So let's look at some possible exams questions on input device. So first question says that a device that input the sound made by human voice is called. So which of this here is used to input human voice into a computer system? So obviously the answer should be a microphone. We'll take the next two. A device that reads black and white lines on a product is called. So let's see whether you get it right. Okay, so it should be a barcode reader, and then we'll take the final one. The rest will be on the video. I'll provide a link to the remaining quizzes for you to try your hands on. All right, so let's take this as the last one and then finish up with the notes. All right, so here a device which is used to read the data from the bottom of bank check is called. Right, which one is that? Right. So the correct answer is a magnetic ink character reader. And so that should be it for 3 questions on input devices. So there are other questions here that you can try your hands on and then submit for grading. So our last item for the learning intention is output devices, and we're going to look at what an output device is. So output devices are basically hardware components of a computer system that receives processed data from the computer and translate it into a form that can be understood by humans. So output devices basically fake out processed data and bring them out in the way that can be understood by humans. So the types of output devices we'll be looking at are monitors. Basically, we're looking at cathode ray tube, liquid crystal display, thin film transistor screens. We'll look at printers, and then we'll look at speakers and actuators. So the first one is a cathode ray tube. So cathode ray tube basically are used for graphic design and video editing. So in most cases, they are for industrial application where you need high refresh rate. Where you want to refresh your screen a lot of time, you make use of the cathode ray tube often. Now, some advantages of the cathode ray monitor is that they have excellent color accuracy and they have very fast response time. Okay, and then the next one is that they are well suited for high speed and precise graphics, and that is why you could use the light pen on cathode ray tube. The disadvantage with the cathode ray tubes is that they are bulky and then heavy design, right? And then they have limited screen size and aspect ratio options. The next one we have is a liquid crystal display, or the thin film transistor monitors. Basically, they are used for laptops and smartphones and digital signages, and they are used for gaming or multimedia content. The advantages of this two is that they are thin and lightweight design and have low power consumption. Okay, and then another advantage is that they have very wide viewing angles and they have high resolutions. The disadvantages is that they have limited color reproduction and the risk of dead pixels. So those are some disadvantages of using the liquid crystal display. The other disadvantage is that they have backlight blinding, and then there are potential for image retention. Okay. Then we come to printers. The first type of printer we want to look at is laser printer. So this is a good example of a laser printer, and they are mostly used in offices for printing. And then where you want to have a network printer or in a network environment, you make use of laser printers. They have very high document printing rates, and so as the uses, those are some of them. When we look at the advantages, they are low cost per page, lower cost per page, suitable for high volume printing. They are very fast. They have very fast printing speed, and then they have precise text reproduction. The disadvantages with laser printers are that they have limited color accuracy and then expensive toners. Their toners are expensive, and then they have higher initial cost compared to the inkjet printer. So we're looking at inkjet printers now. So these are inkjet printers. Inkjet printers basically consume a lot of ink, so they are used for photo printing and then document printing, and mostly used for the homes. All right, so we use this at homes and not mostly for office use. The reason is that for office use, it means you are printing large volumes of papers, and the inks finish quite quick, and then when it happens that way, it means you're going to buy ink almost every time. The other the advantages with using inkjet printers is that they have high quality photo prints, and then low upfront cost. The cost of the printer is not as expensive as compared to the laser printers. However, a disadvantage to this is that they have very slow printing rate compared to the laser print. The other disadvantage to this is that they are they are prone to cloning, and then they have high cost per page. Now, so what this means by high cost per page is that you end up buying more ink for this particular printer. So even though the initial cost of the printer is very low, you end up buying more ink for this type of printers, and that eventually will lead you to having a higher cost per page. The next one we have, the next type of printer we want to look at is the dot matrix printer, mostly used for multi-forms industrial printing. And if you want to print continuously for a long time, we make use of the dot matrix printer. They are not expensive. They don't have expensive ribbons or cartridges, and they are very durable. And the other advantage of the dot matrix printer is that they are reliable, because they can print continuously for a very long time, and they work in industrial environment. That is environment that are dusty, dirty. They work very well, so that's why they are very robust. Okay, the disadvantage is that they have low resolution and they are very noisy. So low resolution, noisy, and then they have limited print quality compared to modern printers. So these are some. So those are some of the advantages and disadvantages with dot matrix. Next on the line is graphic plotters. Graphic plotters basically are used for engineering, architecture, drawing, and they are used for producing very large printings. Okay, so as an advantage, they have high precision. They are able to print on large fonts, and then they are customizable line width. And now, okay, so as the other advantage is that you can easily customize the width and then the color of the graphic plotters. The disadvantage with them is that they print very slow compared to other printers, and they are very costly. Okay, they are very costly and they print very slowly. Next, we have the 3D printers. 3D printers basically are used to print any 3D image that you can think about, for medical application, educational purposes. They are used for educational purposes, and they can print anything you can think about. Now, the advantages of using 3D printers is that you can customize any design you want and print them up, and then they have rapid prototyping. In other words, you can make the same copy of whatever you have already done. They are cost effective as far as producing items are concerned. The disadvantage with the 3D printer is that they have limited material option. They use only one particular material when producing the design or images that you want them to print. They are very slow in printing whatever you want to print, and then they have limited. Apple device here is speakers. Speakers basically are used to output audio from multimedia presentations. So speakers assist people who are visually impaired by reading text on the screen aloud, and often in conjugation with other speech generation software. Now, the advantages of speakers is that the speakers amplify sounds for larger audience, and then everyone in a conference area can hear the sound clearly, and then again they are also used to enhance presentation with engaging atmosphere. The disadvantage with speakers is that they may be a disturbance to others who share the same space with you. And then they have high quality speakers. Very high quality speakers are very costly. And then the last item here is that speakers can occupy significant desk spaces. In that, the last output device in our syllabus is actuators, and actuators are basically used to control valves, pumps, motors in industrial machines, and then they operate automatic doors and windows. In a greenhouse, some advantages of the actuator will be to enable automation and precise control. So if there's a need for a door to open, that will be done by the actuator once it's given the signal, and then it reduces human effort and mechanical tasks. Then the disadvantage that comes with actuators is that they can be very expensive, especially for high performance models, and then they require regular maintenance and to ensure that they work very well and last longer. So that brings us to the end of this lesson on input and output devices. I encourage you to subscribe, share the notes, like, make some comments, and let me have your feedback on chapter 2. Thank you. Bye-bye.